Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 226. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You get notified when we go live, so join in the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, likes, shares, reviews, subscriptions, whatever it is. May seem small, but it does help the channel grow, so if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Today we're talking video game chatter. Shocker. We're going to be talking about two different games, both on the PlayStation side of things, just because that's my console of choice. And speaking of, as of recording today, the whole hardware announcement for PlayStation dropped today, so we're going to kind of shoehorn that in a mini topic here. So pretty much what had happened today is they had this hardware showcase announcement, whatever you want to call it. It was pretty much just showcasing off the PlayStation 5 Pro. So typically we get the Pro models half-ish way through the console's life cycle. This is 4 years after PlayStation 5 launched, I believe, if I remember reading that correctly from someone. I'm sorry, can't credit them. So they showed off the Pro today, and the main thing that they were presenting is there's three things or areas that they're trying to improve. They're trying to improve, well, rather, they noticed what players, when they get the option between fidelity, which is your higher graphics, like that you can see, ray tracing, all the fancy stuff, between fidelity mode and performance mode, which fidelity mode is a better looking game at a less frame rate, so 30 seconds, or sometimes it may go underneath because of all the stuff. So there's fidelity mode, and then there's performance mode, which is 60 frames per second, steady, but things might not look as pretty as they were made. Kind of lowers that quality down. They noticed that more players are going for the performance mode compared to the fidelity. I think they said 75%, which kind of shocked me. I thought I was kind of on the smaller side of that. I know for stream we always try and go for performance mode just to make things more fluid and whatnot and running and not choppy. But interesting to hear that stat come out of that. So they are trying to figure out a way with the Pro model of how to improve performance. So what the devs are making, creating these worlds and environments and whatnot, that can be shown off to its fullest extent. So they're trying to take both of those modes, try and up the quality to make it so fidelity is like your default mode, right? So they're going to focus on, I think they called it like PSSR. I don't remember what the acronym was for, but it's for like three different components. We have the power of the internet. Why not use it? Three components that they're going to focus on with the Pro in order to try and improve it and its performance. Okay, so let me see. So I got PlayStation blog pulled up. So the three things that they are working on: an upgraded GPU. With the PS5 Pro, we're upgrading the GPU that has 67% more compute units than the current PS5 model and 28% faster memory. Overall enables 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making experience much smoother. Advanced ray tracing. We've added even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflection or refraction of light. This allows the rays to be cast at double and at times triple the speeds of the current PS5 console. And the last one was an AI-driven upscaling. We've also introduced PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, that's that PSSR I talked about, an AI-driven upscaling that uses a machine learning-based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. So all that sounds good. I mean, makes sense. You're going to take your base model, improve on it as technology obviously goes on, and you really want to take advantage of, how good things can look, especially with those AAA titles and those titles that really go hard for graphics, facial stuff, whatever it is. So, cool. That all sounds great. And like nice improvements. A lot of people were concerned about what's the price of this thing going to be. Obviously, PlayStation 5 was up there already in price. So that was the big debate, was how much is this thing going to cost? Pretty much for the look of the console, it looks similar to your base PS5. It's got a few more racing stripes on it. The big omission, there is no disc drive. So it is a fully digital console, which we've had with one of the PlayStation 5 models now, and then the Xbox Series S, I believe, is digital only. So, like, it's not groundbreaking that that's new. Just a little unfortunate for obviously physical people. I will say there is a separate charge of a attachable disk drive, so you could go that route. So they show off this thing. They show off the side-by-side comparisons of, like, this is a PlayStation 5 running it, this is a PS5 running it, or PS5 running it, PS5 Pro running it. I couldn't tell much difference. Granted, YouTube and streaming and all that stuff, you're not going to really notice it until you probably see it in person type thing, if you have the right monitor, TV, etc. So they showcased that a little bit, and then we finally got to the price. This thing is $699.99. It's $700 for this PlayStation 5 Pro. Holy crap. Obviously more expensive than the base PS5, which, you know, to be expected, but you would think maybe releasing this new one, you could do slightly higher than the PS5 model, scale that down in price. But no. So that's a little bit of shock that it's that high, but also, like I said, if you want a disc drive, that's an additional $80. The vertical stand does not come with it for some reason. That is an additional cost. So PlayStation kind of really screwed the pooch here. Like I said, these sound like good improvements. It is nothing personally I'm like, yep, I'm gonna go buy one. I don't think I've ever gotten a Pro model, except it was like really, really late, like PS4 era. I think my cousin was getting rid of his, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it. So I don't think I was really expecting to get this anyway, or anticipating to get this anyway. My PlayStation 5 luckily runs great as is, and I have no problems with it. So yeah, just like, woo, that's a big ask. So if people are getting it, great. Doesn't seem, but granted, the internet is a bubble. Doesn't seem like a lot of people are happy and will be getting it. But we'll see. It comes out November 4th of this year. Also includes a 2TB solid state drive, which is cool. You get your DualSense controller. You get a copy of Astro's Playroom, which is on the base PS5. Great game, which we'll be talking about soon. So yeah, interesting stuff. So talking about Astro, let's get more on a positive note. After, you know, showcasing the hardware here, and then the recent Concord shutdown of that game. Let's talk about a positive and a win for PlayStation. Let's talk about Astro Bot. Now, Astro Bot, as of recording, just launched on Friday. And if you don't know what Astro Bot is, it is a cute little robot man, a little square TV head. He's got a cape, and it is a 3D platformer. Going around, collecting coins, going through puzzles, complete the course, typical stuff there. But Astro Bot has had a few different games. I believe his first appearance was in a PlayStation VR 1 title. Could be wrong. Sorry if I'm wrong there. And then, as we just talked about, Astro's Playroom was like a tech demo, essentially, for the PS5. We might have talked about it way back when on the podcast when we talked about the PlayStation and my experiences with it, but Astro's Playroom was an amazing game. So mainly it was a tech demo for, you know, your DualSense controller, all the haptic feedback stuff, your adaptive triggers, how you can feel things differently in the controller based on what's happening, raindrops, different vibration movements, stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. And something they also did with Astro's Playroom, along with the tech demo stuff, is they kind of showcased and showed love for the history of PlayStation. So you could collect different consoles and accessories that the PlayStations have had throughout the years. And then you could also, through your journey, see different Astro Bots that are like dressed up as your favorite game characters. It was kind of almost like fun little Easter eggs that you could find. And that was a lot of fun to go through. It was a great experience. And Astro Bot that just has come out is like that multiplied. So Playroom was a decent sized experience. I say it was maybe 4 or 5 hours. I'm not sure. This one is probably 8 to 10, like a more full length game. And it seems like it's continuing off where Playroom left off. In the trailers, they showed that there's going to be a few of the characters that are making their return. Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn, Kratos and Atreus from God of War, Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series, Spike from Ape Escape. I'm not sure if they showed anybody else. So those characters are coming back, and what the story opens up with, this is probably the only part I'll spoil, is it's Astro Bot and all of the little buddies. There's like 300 or so. Not all PlayStation characters. There's a decent chunk that are just kind of generic Astro Bots. But a good chunk are the PlayStation characters and video game characters alike. They're on a big giant PS5 traveling through space, and an alien shows up and like steals the interior components of the PlayStation 5, and you crash land on this planet, and then Astro Bot has to go to, I think it's like 5 different galaxies where there's mini bosses and stuff. Go through these platforming levels, recover lost Astro Bots, work on rebuilding the PS5 like spaceship, and go after this big bad. And I have been absolutely loving this game. So I jumped in, I think it was Friday night, and then I've played a little bit more there. So I'm not super far into it. I've probably completed I have completed the first galaxy, and then I've started that second one. If you guys have been playing, then you kind of know roughly where I'm at. And yeah, I've just been loving it. This has been like one of those games where I haven't felt this way in a while, where I get completely lost in the game, and not like, oh, lost in a bad way, just like that pure joy and excitement that games felt like back in the day, and just like happiness and excitement over everything, seeing how beautiful the world is that Team Asobi has created with Astro Bot and their levels and whatnot. It's impressive as well as pretty to see everything, how it's laid out, how you interact with different stuff, like the smaller components you can push around, how things break apart. And it's very fun. There's a few challenges here and there, typical platformer stuff, but I wouldn't say it's anything egregious that makes you feel like, God, I want to stop playing. I've heard there's some challenge levels that are like on the side that you can do. I haven't reached anything that's felt super frustrating. It's just been the usual, like, small mistake here, landed wrong, fell, whatever it was. And it was like, okay, I understand what I did. Right back into it. It didn't feel like it was a question mark or it's cheap or anything like that. But the most exciting part, besides, the levels and the gameplay, and they're still using, like, the most they can with the controller and the haptics here, which I guess I could talk about real quick before that next point I was going towards. But they really have used the technology here to their advantage. In Playroom, they used a couple of fun mechanics, and they kind of bring some back here and then add whole new ones. Like there's these punchy gloves that are kind of like similar to arms on the Nintendo Switch, or you punch and it's like a little extendo arm. You can do that with each of the controllers depending on the level, or rather the triggers, and you could feel the resistance there as you're going to it. I ran into a monkey the other day, which calls back to Playroom, where it's a climbing mechanic, so you have to motion control, like tilt to raise that arm up, grab, tilt, grab, go, 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 and you're climbing through different levels that way. Excuse me. So that's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate what the team has done there, but where it's really shined is finding the different characters. So as we talked about with Playroom, they're just kind of out and about, and you'll just see like miniature scenes of them, and it was like, oh, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so, and it's cute and it's fun. Here you're actually collecting them. So with the spaceship kind of crashing, all the Astro Bots get spread out. Like I said, some are generic, but there's a decent chunk that are these video game and PlayStation characters. And you save them, and you collect them as you go. There was a few in the trailer that obviously I listed off or said that I was like, yeah, I'm expecting those guys. I think even in the first level, I had a very nice surprise of like, oh shit, it's this character, and that just made me smile. And having those moments come up across these levels in these galaxies, I think has been the most fun and exciting for me, because, you know, going into it as spoiler free as possible and just being surprised again and again and again by all these different characters that are in here, and also testing my knowledge. Like, there's a few characters I'm like, who, you look familiar, I do not know what you are from. And they don't really flat out say it. They'll kind of give when you unlock them, or save them rather. It gives like a little blurb. Like, I'm trying to think of somebody, like a blurb from a character. Like Ratchet, for example. Ratchet and Clank were in the trailers. I think they talk about like how they're some kind of engineer or whatever, but it doesn't say like flat out, oh, it's Ratchet and Clank. But that's been the most fun part. Each level is very clear of what is in each level in terms of unlocking. Like, there's 7 Astro Bots here, and there's 3 puzzle pieces that are used to unlock different buildings, and then there's alternate paths for these bonus levels. You got to find it. It's like a secret, but everything there is clearly labeled. With the Astro Bots, however many there are in the world, it's a little silhouette, of the Astro Bot shape. And the PlayStation specific characters, they'll put the 4 sacred symbols by them, so you know, oh, in this level there's going to be 3 PlayStation characters that I'm going to look out for. And for the most part, I would say it's very streamlined, where you're going to get most of them. But as the levels progress, you are rewarded by exploring, and that's where you'll find the different objectives, whether it's the Astro Bots, whether it's the puzzle pieces, or it's these other paths that we had talked about with the other levels. You are rewarded for exploring, but it's also, like I said, it's very good of letting you know when you have missed something or your progress based on where the Astro Bots will fill in the slots as well. So if you have 7, they all correspond to where they are kind of found, or the order they're found. So if you notice, oh, I found the 4th Astro Bot, but I haven't found the 3rd, you know that you missed something. It's nice there. In replaying levels, you can also, if you don't want to kind of like grind it out, sounds bad, but if you don't want to just search endlessly without looking up, you know, a tutorial or whatever, I have noticed if you go back to levels, there's this little bird robot, and you can pay some coins and he'll fly along with you, and the controller will vibrate almost like a radar essentially when you're near some of those hidden components. So at least it kind of narrows down the idea of like, okay, this is the area I need to be looking around, and you can go from there, which is a nice feature, especially when you're going back, and like I said, you don't want to be frustrated. It respects your time in that aspect, or with that mechanic. So once you get the characters, the planet that you crash landed on kind of acts as a hub world for all you guys. So every time you come back from a mission, you'll see all the Astro Bots that you have saved before just standing there like psyched that you're back, all waving for you and whatnot. And then it unleashes the new Astro Bots. And on this hub world, they are there to kind of help you solve puzzles as well in the hub world, to collect even more resources. So maybe you have to collect a certain amount or save a certain amount. Like, you need 10 to help you climb up this thing, or 50 to get over this big gap, and it's a bridge. So you're rewarded in that aspect of like more things to do if you find more of the robots. Cool. Last thing, in terms of the hub world itself, eventually, I've talked about these puzzle pieces. These puzzle pieces will eventually, I think your first one unlocks like a component for each of the individual PlayStation characters. So it gives them a certain item or a set piece or whatever. And in that hub world, after you buy that item from the coins you collected, then it will give them this little thing, and they will animate and act like they're in their video game. So, for example, we talked about Ratchet. I believe Clank is his, so you only get Ratchet. I think Clank is what you get from him. But then if you go up to them, I don't know why, but then you gotta you smack them. They'll do the special animation, and Ratchet and Clank like interact with each other. I think Ratchet like drops all his bolts, and he's like no, and he like scurries them back into his purse or whatever. So that's pretty funny. But seeing the wide array of different characters that they do have, like I want to talk about them so bad. But I think that's where this game shines, is you, the player, experiencing these things for yourself, and at this sense of discovery. Seeing some of the different ones, it's really cute and adorable, because yeah, there's a wide variety of characters here, from like more kid-centric characters to the adult-centered characters, you know. But it's funny to see, especially those like mature rated games, doing something typically aimed for a kid, and it's cute just to see that interaction. So that's been a fun, rewarding part of the process too, along with collecting them, is seeing what kind of animations there are, and seeing the range of characters that are here. I was really happy and surprised by a few of them already early on in the game. I'm excited to continue playing through and seeing, like I said, there's 300 Astro Bots you can save. Some of them, obviously the generic guys, aren't going to be too much, but I'm excited to see the other characters that we do unlock throughout the game, and see what else is hidden in there. One last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up this topic. So you have your base levels where you kind of just jump around, you know, you're doing the typical platforming, solving the puzzles, whatever. Once you get to, I think it's after the boss fight, at least in the first world, there was like a character that showed up, and you then kind of take the mantle of that character. So he was in the trailer, so I'll talk about him, but Spike from Ape Escape is in this. So Spike from Ape Escape has his net. That's how he kind of catches the monkeys, you know, collects them and saves the day. Some of these characters that you run into and interact with, they'll have their own levels based on their game. So in Spike's, you got to be Spike and run around with the net, catch different Astro Bot monkeys that are dressed up, and go through that. And it hit close to home with me because Ape Escape was one of those early games that I played at my aunt and uncle's. Didn't have a memory card and just would replay that beginning section over and over again when I did go over there. And I absolutely loved that game. So to kind of go into here, reminisce, and relive it for a little while was really, really fun and really, really nice. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of those, unfortunately. At least in the first Galaxy, there was only that one. So I have to guess that there will be one per Galaxy, which there are 5 or 6 of. Perhaps there'll be more. We'll have to see. But that was just a really fun thing to do, to mix, obviously, the components of Astro Bot's mechanics and then take what these other titles are doing in that character and add that in as well. It was just a fun little, oh, this is cool. So Astro Bot is a lot of fun. I would highly recommend it to anybody who has a PlayStation, first off. But if you played Playroom, which you should have, if you didn't play it on your PS5, what are you doing? If you played Playroom and you really enjoyed what you got out of that experience, this is going to reward you with more of that. Bring what Playroom brought to the table and just kind of add on to that experience. Even if you're not the most hardcore like PlayStation fan, I think this is it's fun, shorter platformer. It's not going to be super frustrating, but it is going to allow you to have a lot of those cool like game moments of just reminiscing, going down memory lane and unlocking all these different characters to interact with. It just makes my heart so happy like playing it, and it was a real escape, and I know I definitely needed that this weekend, and it was nice to have a game that fully just, I don't know, I haven't felt like a game has done that for me in a while. Like obviously, you know, there's a lot of games that are good and are fun, but that type of experience, I feel like I haven't gotten that in a while, or just everything washed away, and it was just the pure happiness of that experience. So had a lot of fun with Astro Bot. Looking forward to playing more, possibly tonight at some point, and just going through that. And it's I saw somebody on Twitter, shout out to the trophy room, I think Kyle's played it all the way through for the platinum. Joe, Mr. Badbit, was like, I'm enjoying this so much, but I don't want to rush through it and just like then it's gone. And I'm like, oh yeah, I totally understand that, because I'm just like go 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 go. But I also agree with what he's saying. It's like, oh no, it'll be real sad when this is over. Apparently they're gonna have free DLC for like some speed running aspects. I don't know if that will bring me back to play it again, but that's a nice thing that they are adding to it. And yeah, Team Asobi just absolutely crushed it. You can definitely see their love and care in this and their other projects. So just kudos to them. Fantastic game. If you were thinking about it, I would highly recommend it. And if not, change that. But yeah, guys, that's Astro.